The moon hung low over Istanbul, casting an eerie, spectral glow that transformed the ancient city into a realm of phantasmal shadows and half-whispered secrets. As I wandered through the narrow streets, the air thickened with the scent of spices, sea salt, and the musty decay of old stone. Each step I took seemed to echo through centuries, the cobblestones beneath my feet worn smooth by the passage of countless souls. The city's history pressed down upon me, a living, breathing entity, murmuring secrets of long-forgotten epochs. Istanbul was supposed to be my sanctuary, a place to leave behind the wreckage of my past and find some semblance of peace. But the city's whispers felt like an insidious call, filling me with an inexplicable unease. My life had disintegrated into a series of misfortunes, the loss of my job, my family, my very purpose. Now, in this ancient city, I felt like a phantom drifting through a world that had moved on without me. The nights were the worst. My sleep was plagued by restless dreams of places I had never seen and faces that haunted my thoughts. It was in this shadowed state of mind that I first saw her. She moved with an otherworldly grace, her body a blur of motion in the dim light. She seemed to glide across the ground, her feet barely touching the surface, leaving faint, damp traces on the cold granite floor. Her dance was hypnotic, drawing me in, rendering me powerless to look away. Time itself seemed to warp as I watched her, each moment stretching into a surreal infinity. The city's noises faded into a distant hum, leaving only the soft rustle of her movements and the beating of my heart. The alleyway around us twisted, its edges blurring into shadows that whispered secrets of forgotten times. The moonlight cast long, distorted shadows, and the air grew thick with a sense of impending doom. I should have turned and fled, but something deeper, more primal, held me captive. My feet felt rooted to the spot as if the cold, damp ground had sprouted tendrils that entwined my ankles. The scent of old stone and ancient secrets filled my lungs with each breath, each inhale drawing me deeper into a spell. Her eyes met mine, and in their depths I saw a flicker of something not quite human. It was as if she existed simultaneously in this world and another, her body a vessel for something far more ancient and malevolent. Her movements grew more erratic, and I sensed a darkness coiling within her, a darkness that threatened to consume us both. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead, my heart pounding in my chest. Her eyes, now glowing with an eerie light, seemed to pierce through my very soul. I was no longer just a spectator. I had become a participant in a ritual older than humanity itself. The dancer's presence filled the air with an oppressive energy, and I felt a strange sensation wash over me. It was as if my very soul was being drawn from my body, compelled to witness the unfolding of a grand, cosmic narrative. The fiery liquid that coursed through my veins kept me from averting my eyes, from banishing the terrifying visions with a mere blink. I saw everything from the dawn of time itself. The dancer's footsteps became a map, guiding me through the epochs of history, each step a portal to another era. Her movements painted vivid images in my mind, revealing secrets and horrors that lay hidden beneath the veneer of reality. I watched, helpless, as civilizations rose and fell, each demise marked by unspeakable atrocities. The air around me shimmered, and I found myself standing in the midst of a vast alien landscape. The ground was covered in a thick black sludge that oozed and pulsed with a life of its own. Strange, twisted plants rose from the muck, their tendrils writhing like serpents. In the distance, towering structures loomed, their jagged spires piercing the blood-red sky. I turned to the dancer, her form now a ghostly apparition. She moved with an ethereal grace, her body weaving through the air as if she were weightless. Her eyes, burning with an otherworldly fire, locked onto mine, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The visions grew more intense, more horrific. I saw ancient cities, their streets running red with blood as monstrous beings tore through the populace. I watched as empires crumbled, their ruins swallowed by the encroaching darkness. The dancer's movements became more frantic, more desperate, as if she were trying to convey a message of utmost importance. Each vision was a window into a different era, a different world. I saw the birth of stars, their brilliant light illuminating the void of space. I witnessed the violent destruction of worlds, their fragments scattered across the cosmos. And in the shadows of these cataclysmic events, I saw the outlines of beings older than time itself. Their forms twisted and grotesque, lurking in the darkness. These entities, born from the primordial chaos, seemed to regard humanity with a mixture of indifference and disdain. Their cold, unfeeling eyes reflected the vast, uncaring void of the universe. The dancer's movements grew more frenzied, and I could sense that she was trying to warn me, to show me the true nature of these horrors. The ground beneath me began to tremble, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The landscape around me shifted and changed, revealing scenes of devastation and despair. I saw the remnants of forgotten civilizations, their ruins haunted by the specters of the past. The air was filled with the cries of the damned, their voices echoing through the desolate landscape. The dancer's eyes bore into mine, and I felt a surge of energy course through my veins. The visions became more vivid, more real, and I could feel the weight of the ages pressing down on me. The boundaries between reality and illusion began to blur, and I was no longer sure where I ended, and the visions began. I saw the rise and fall of empires, each one more brutal than the last. I witnessed the birth of ancient gods, their forms twisted and monstrous, worshipped by cults that reveled in blood and madness. The dancer's footsteps traced a path through these epochs, her movements a constant reminder of the darkness that lay at the heart of existence. The visions began to take on a nightmarish quality, the boundaries between reality and illusion growing ever more tenuous. I found myself standing in the midst of ancient battles, the screams of the dying filling my ears. I saw the faces of those I had loved and lost, their eyes filled with pain and betrayal. The dancer's eyes bore into mine, and I felt a cold dread settle over me, a sense of inevitability that I could not escape. With every vision, I grew more attuned to the ancient powers that pulsed through the fabric of reality. I could see the threads that connected all things, the intricate web of life and death, creation and destruction. The dancer's movements guided me, leading me through the labyrinthine pathways of the universe. I felt a sense of liberation, a freedom that came from embracing the darkness within me. The horrors that had once filled me with dread now seemed like old friends, their presence a comforting reminder of my place in the grand cosmic scheme. I moved with a newfound grace, my body flowing in harmony with the dancers, our movements intertwining a narrative of light and shadow. But as time went on, the line between liberation and madness began to blur. The visions grew more intense, more vivid, and I found it increasingly difficult to distinguish between the real and the imagined. The boundaries between past and present, life and death, began to dissolve, and I was no longer sure where I ended and the darkness began. I faced the grotesque beings that emerged from the abyss, their forms twisted and hideous. They moved with an eerie grace, their bodies shifting and contorting in ways that defied comprehension. Their eyes, cold and unfeeling, seemed to bore into my very soul, filling me with a dread that threatened to consume me. The dancer's eyes locked onto mine, and I felt a surge of power course through my veins. The fiery liquid that had kept me anchored now surged with a renewed vigor, transforming my very essence. I became one with the darkness, a part of the cosmic narrative that the dancer had crafted. My body twisted and contorted, taking on new, horrifying forms, each more monstrous than the last. I wandered through the streets of Istanbul, my mind filled with the echoes of ancient whispers and the cries of the damned. The city, once familiar and comforting, now seemed alien and hostile. Shadows lurked at every corner, and I could feel the malevolent gaze of the cosmic entities upon me, their whispers filling my mind with madness. The dancer's eyes haunted my every thought, her presence a constant reminder of the darkness that had consumed me. I could no longer find solace in the light, for it too had been tainted by the darkness. My body, twisted and contorted by the transformations, was a grotesque reflection of the horrors that plagued my mind. Desperate for answers, I delved into the darkest corners of the occult, seeking a way to break free from the cosmic dance that had ensnared me. Each ritual, each incantation seemed to tighten the darkness's grip on my soul. I saw faces in every shadow, their eyes filled with sorrow that mirrored my own. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of despair and madness. I felt the weight of ages pressing down on me. The memories of countless lifetimes, a burden I could scarcely bear. I knew that I was losing my mind, that the darkness was consuming me. But I could not stop, for the dancer's eyes were always there, watching, waiting. I was a puppet, my strings pulled by forces far beyond my comprehension. The visions grew more fragmented, more nightmarish. I saw myself standing on the battlefield of ancient wars, the screams of the dying ringing in my ears. I saw the faces of those I had loved and lost, their eyes filled with pain and betrayal. The dancer's eyes bore into mine, and I felt a cold dread settle over me, a sense of inevitability that I could not escape. As the final days approached, I found myself standing at the edge of the abyss, the darkness stretching out before me like an endless void. The dancer's presence was stronger than ever, her eyes burning with an intensity that pierced my very soul. The ground beneath me trembled, and I could feel the pull of the abyss, its depths filled with the whispers of the damned. The visions grew more vivid, more real, and I knew that I was standing on the brink of madness. I took a step forward, my body trembling with fear and anticipation. The darkness wrapped around me, its tendrils pulling me into the abyss. The dancer's eyes were the last thing I saw before the void consumed me, their cold, unfeeling gaze a reminder of the horrors that awaited me. As the void consumed me, I felt my body disintegrate, my essence dissolving into the darkness. The pain was indescribable, a torment that seemed to stretch on for eternity. The whispers of the damned grew louder, their voices a cacophony of despair and madness. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the pain stopped. I was no longer a person, no longer a conscious being. I had become something else, something far more insidious. I was the footprint left by the dancer, a mark of her passage through the ages. My essence was trapped in the damp imprint on the cold granite floor, a silent witness to the horrors she had wrought. I could feel the weight of the ages pressing down on me, the memories of countless lifetimes, a burden I could scarcely bear. As the dancer continued her endless dance, I watched in silence, my consciousness a mere stain on the fabric of reality. There was no escape, no salvation. I was lost, forever a part of the grand cosmic dance. My soul entwined with the mysteries of the universe. And as the void closed around me, I realized that the dance never truly ended. It continued on, an eternal rhythm that echoed through the fabric of existence, drawing us all into its embrace. My final thought was one of despair, as I understood that I was doomed to watch, to be a part of this endless cycle of madness and horror for all eternity.